around since internet access has been a little bit limited this week, as you can tell. There's been a little bit of a snowstorm that stopped by where I live. Thankfully, however, the power is back on, water is running once again, so I am definitely blessed where I am at. I apologize for not getting any videos out this week, but when you're dealing with intermittent blackouts, icy roads, you kind of make do with what you have. So I thought I would take my phone and record something a little bit for you all, kind of as a treat. I know there are others that do a walking kind of video, but I thought with how pretty it is outside, I couldn't say no to the opportunity. So, it's a crazy time that we're living in. Whether it's people debating consequentialism, of course I'm referring to e-drama there, people's accounts being messed with in phishing scams, or losing titans like Rush Limbaugh. Certainly been a crazy past few days, although I think the weather has definitely been the main attraction of events. Although I'm looking around, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but definitely some tracks around. I love living out in the country, seeing all of these trails of animals on the footfalls of the snow. It's absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, I think I'd walk around and just talk with you guys for a little bit. Hopefully, as the roads clear up, I should be back to uploading regularly next week. Although this Friday, I will be on with Yizz the Eunuch, and I'm really looking forward to that appearance. Yizz and I follow a lot of the same people. It'll be fun to have a conversation, talk about what's going on in the Western world, what we can do about it, and what we're interested in. So it'll be a fun conversation. It'll be over on Yizz's channel. I hope that you'll all be there.
Yes, and here he is. Today on Unit Corner Club, I am joined as usual by my co-hosts, Kizza GT and Zen Chan. And our special guest this week is the Prudentialist, who goes by Will. No real name, no last name. I'm going to keep everything concealed there for your safety, of course. And today, what we like to do on this channel is we like to have on a special guest every week who cares about Western civilization, who cares about Western kind, have a fun chat, look at some news, and of course, brainstorm about what we can do on the ground level to make life better and preserve our wonderful civilization. So, thank you for joining us today, Prudentialist. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How is everybody today?
I'm enjoying the cold and the biting cold and the light dusting of snow we've got. For all the cold, I wish we got more snow, but not a lot of snow around here right now. There was quite a bit a few weeks ago, but not much in the last week.
Well, we just finally got some for the first time. We didn't have any snow last winter, so we finally got hit with a wonderful winter freeze these last couple of days, and definitely the same kind of biting cold that you've had.
Oh, yeah. And you live in Texas, right?
Yeah, I live in a tiny little part of North Texas, and it's definitely a change of pace from where I used to live. But as I've talked about on my channel and other places, I couldn't be happier from getting out of the city to living in the country.
All right. Well, before we get rolling here with more, we're going to have Zen Chan share the usual shill links in the chat here. The shill links primarily are for long-form questions and comments that you want to pose to the panel, and that will be the entropy link. And over on entropy, on the question widget, that's on the left-hand side, you'll see a widget that says questions on top where you can type in long-form questions and comments that we can get to later. Every 30 or 40 minutes, I check over here for paid chats, and of course, those get priority. And around the hour mark, we're going to be going over all the questions and comments in the question widget. And that's the best place for you to leave serious questions and comments for us because it's hard to dig those out of regular chat. But as usual, I like to keep an eye on regular chat. And of course, if you'd like to support the channel and me, especially since I still can't get work contracts here because of the stupid COOF lockdown, I always appreciate what little resources you can spare through Cash App, PayPal, or paid chats. And of course, if you want to support me monthly, there's always the subscribe star. Now that the old shill is out of the way, Prudentialist, I know that you followed my channel for a little while. Do you remember what led you to my channel and my work?
I know that you'd popped up as a sort of a chat mod. I know that you had the wrench on Short Fat Otaku's channel, and I've actually interacted with you on my like personal account on a couple of conversations on issues of like political philosophy, and I had liked what you had to say, so I've been following you for a while now. And I really
I certainly do have a lot to say. I never shut up.
And I really liked what you had to say when you were on Dumping with Scrump and you talked about no white guilt. And I was like, I like the strategy. It's a good rhetorical twist to it. I think that
and also it carries a message of positivity, hope, and redemption for people, even non-white people that might be anti-white jackals. Like that's one of my recent videos called "The Fire of Prometheus," is where I gave a sermon to the Israelites on the Mount over here, and told them that it's important to, instead of pointing the finger and calling people ugly words and blaming troubles on groups, to name people by their actions. That's why I like the word anti-white, because someone can be redeemed from being anti-white. Somebody can't just stop being black or stop being a Jew. And so if you point the finger and damn them for that, then, well, you're not really giving them any option to change their ways or to help you. So that's why I like the anti-white terminology.
Well, yeah, because it gives you an opportunity to sort of not only have a redemption arc, but also you're inviting people to look at things in as you said, in a way of actions rather than as these immutable characteristics. And I think that it's important, especially for any group, whether you're, white positivity or, traditional right winger, like we need to have our own ways to control language, because if not, we're going to be trying to play the left game on language forever, and we're always going to lose.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that one of the things that's important about, about the using the right language and saying the right things is when you use the right language about actions, you not only is there a path of redemption for your fellow white brothers and sisters if they're, just lost, or maybe they're abjectly anti-white or involved in, some kind of ugly activism or whatever, but it allows you the words to talk easily to regular folks about the differences between individual metrics and group metrics. Like, for example, in America, when you look at violent crimes and violent rapes and stuff, of course, African Americans are way high in those, but that doesn't mean that every single black you meet is going to be a criminal or a rapist. And if you're trying to point the finger at a group, you are erasing the possibility of that individual to be good and to help. And if you're on the other side of that, where you're like, oh, well, I know a blank, and since they're okay, then of course the group's okay, and all the lies about that and all the stuff about the group metrics are lies. And talking about things in the framing of anti-whiteism and anti-Western sentiment, that allows both of those things to be true, both on the micro and the macro level, and gives you a way to talk about how those things intersect in a nationalist or so-called right-wing way, instead of like the Marxist way that the intersectionalists do. And I think that's another reason why the Go Free lexicon and tactic work really well for just reaching regular folks and talking to them in a way that they can easily process.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Okay, cool. So that being said, let's hear from the co-host. Zen, Kizza, how are you guys doing over in the UK today?
Do you want to go ahead, Kizza? You can go first.
You remember, Kizza, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted, I think. Anyway, yes, I'm doing well, thanks to everyone. Pretty much same old. How about you, Zen?
Eternally attempting to find jobs on Indeed and eternally failing.
Well, hey,
it's rough. It's probably going to get worse economically, sadly.
Yeah, probably.
Well, yeah, blame the fat Turk we have in number 10.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I am. It's every day I lose more hope of us getting out of this peacefully.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you don't allow non-natives to rule your country.
No, this is. I think it's more just this is why you don't allow fucking idiots to take their cues from China.
Yeah. No. Sorry. It's not China. It's pronounced China.
China. No, actually, it's pronounced mainland Taiwan. That's how it's pronounced.
Mm.
Oh, well, excuse me, princess.
Well, did you hear about a particular blunder going on in Texas with the mayor putting his foot in his mouth and then resigning?
Oh boy, here we go.
Here we go.
You probably heard about that, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Let's let our viewers have a look-see here. We'll start with the old Beeb. We'll start with the old Beeb here. Let me know if you guys can see this on screen. I think
that looks fine for me.
I think it's sharing. Okay, good. So apparently, the mayor of a Texas town had to quit after, and only the strong will survive the winter post. And yeah, for those of you that don't know, Texas has been hit really hard by a surprising amount of snow and cold weather, which doesn't frequently blanket most of Texas, I don't think. And I know you guys have winter seasons because I lived in the Southwest a while, but you typically don't get this sharp of a cold and a snow, do you, Will?
Not necessarily, especially in more southern parts of Texas where it's been hit the worst. Like San Antonio and Austin have just been obliterated with frozen pipes. There was a video making the rounds of a hotel at 100% capacity, 300 rooms, and the lobby was flooded. So this is not what we're used to.
Yeah, I read on Twitter that there was a spike in hotel prices, that they doubled and tripled overnight because of demand. Well, that being said, who wants to take a look at what the about what this mayor said? Huh? You want to have a look at what he said?
Oh yeah. would you like me to recite his wonderful claims?
Give me a second.
I'll pull up the quote. I've got it on my end.
Hold on. I want to get it on screen before you do. It's up here somewhere. Wait a minute. There it is. All right, I found it. Sorry, we got a lot of links open today. Boop. There it goes. Okay, here's the post that he made. You want to read that for us, Zen?
Okay, I'll put on the appropriate voice that I think that this requires. Let me hurt some feelings while I have a minute. No one owes you or your family anything, nor is it the local government's responsibility to support you during trying times like this. Sink or swim, it's your choice. The city and country, along with power providers or any other service, owes you nothing. I'm sick and tired of people looking for a damn handout. If you don't have electricity, you step up and come up with a game plan to keep your family warm and safe. If you have no water, you deal without and think outside the box to survive and supply water to your family. If you're sitting at home in the cold because you have no power and you're sitting there waiting for someone to come rescue you because your lazy ass is a direct result of your raising, only the strong will survive and the weak will perish. Folks, God has given us the tools to support ourselves in times like this. This is sadly a product of a socialist government where they feed people to believe that the few will work and others will become dependent for handouts. Am I sorry that you have been dealing without electricity and water? Yes, but I'll be damned if I'm going to provide for anybody that is capable of doing it themselves. We've lost sight of those in need and those that take advantage of the system and meshed them into one group. Bottom line, quit crying and looking for a handout. Get off your ass and take care of your own family.
And,
that really hurt my throat.
in light of that, we're going to put this up here.
That was very much the inspiration I took when giving that performance there. Don't fuck with this senator.
Yeah. God bless America. Woo! So let's get an F in the chat for old Mayor Boyd there. He stepped down for obvious reasons, but I have to say I do agree with him. I think that a little snowstorm and being without power and water for a few days, it might be of a shock to some people and a splash of cold water, but I mean, this is America, man. Like, I recorded a video last night talking about how this country was made by people who wanted to fend for themselves and cut out their own place to live out of the wilderness. Like, I think we've lost our way in the last several generations. Like, who cares if it's a bad winter or if the power gets shitty? Like, that happens all the time out here in the mountain hollers. Sometimes you won't have power for a day or two just because somebody's cow wanders into the road and a tractor runs into a transformer. Like, you got to be prepared and you got to be ready to take care of your family when shit hits the fan.
Yeah,
and,
I like this.
I sympathize 100% with what this dude said. Do you guys too?
I like the sentiment, but in fairness, you do pay for your power, so I get why people are like, well, we pay for this service, why are you not providing it?
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, you pay for a service, but like, we also agree that traffic laws help. But if I'm just going to blindly walk across the street in busy traffic, those traffic laws don't keep me from getting my legs broke. You got to take care of yourself and be smart at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, I like his sentiment. I mean, of course, optically, when you're in charge of your local government, people are turning to you to help. I think that it does. You're right, especially where I live, because power does go out, the water goes out, and you need to learn how to take care of yourself. And I think that that sort of tells you where we've transformed, and I think for the worse, as a country here in the States, where people are so dependent on who's in charge to take care of themselves, where we don't look towards our community leaders, we don't look towards our neighbors, we don't look towards our church, and you don't do that anymore in the city, especially. And
Yeah.
where I live, I mean, people still do that, and I'm really thankful because people look after each other, they take care of one another, and everywhere around here, people are taking care of themselves because they have the means to do so. But in places in the city where people are trying to run to their parking garages to sleep in their cars, they're not looking after themselves or their neighbors, it's just depressing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of depressing, I know that the winter's been really hard, but there's good news. There's really good news.
Oh boy.
We have... Just a second. There it is. We got her.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got her. We found who the culprit was behind Texas's problems, and she's been apprehended and is in good hands. So now that her hands are bound, hopefully she won't be able to work no more winter witch magic, and things should be soon returning to normal. Thank goodness. So,
And Ted Cruz can go back to Cancun.
yeah, and Ted go back to Cancun. Speaking of old Ted, okay, here's my take on it. Okay, number one, I think that he handled it poorly, and he was a pussy. But number two, the people that are upset about this, no matter what your political persuasion, I take a dump on the progressive left all the time, but there are people on the right that are pissed about him too. What the hell is he going to do? He's a U.S. senator. He doesn't decide what happens in Texas. He's not a mayor. He's not in charge of something local. I get it that people are pissy that he's got the money and ability to fly somewhere nice when shit hits the fan. But it ain't his job. He does a job you elected him for. Best senator. He's not in charge of local ordinances in Texas to get shit done. So I thought the way he handled it was just completely weak. It made him look bad. He should have just said, you know what? I don't have a job to do. I ain't got nothing going on in DC right now, and shit sucks in Texas. I'm taking a vacation with my family. Get bent. That's what I would have said. And I think that people that are strong and actually give a shit, that have, goodwill and good sensibilities, would have been like, hell yeah, Ted, I'll vote for you next time. But instead, he pussed out.
Yeah, he definitely caved to the PR optics game, because I mean the real response would have been I'm not the governor, I'm not the Texas Emergency Response Services, I'm not the mayor of any of these cities that are hurt. What can I do? Fuck off, I'm gonna be with my family. But no, it's the fact that he's a U.S. senator who happens to be on the wrong side of the media because he's got an R in front of his name. So he caved to the media that he wants to placate, and that's not a good look.
Yeah, it's like imagine if when the media last year would have come. Remember when they came at Trump for trying to blame the unrest on him, and he's like, "Ain't my cities, I ain't mayor, ain't my problem. Y'all fix your own shit." Ted Cruz should have done that. He should have been like, "Hey, it ain't my problem. I don't control the weather. I ain't the mayor. I ain't the governor." Or a mayor,
not my
governor,
not my monkeys.
Well, it does come back to the mayor's statement, which is, it's the product of a society that's wanting someone to fix all their problems for them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, something I will add, everyone seems to be forgetting one little detail.
Which is?
People think he is the Senate.
Mm.
They do?
That was a Star Wars joke.
Yeah.
Well, no, I get that I am the
okay.
Senate reference. I just don't know what it's got to do with Ted Cruz.
Because Ted Cruz is a senator, and people think a senator has loads of power to overrule mayors and so on and so forth.
Yeah, despite that literally being what America
senators
is
do have
against.
considerable power in America, but not over their state goings on.
Well, America,
Yeah,
the 10th Amendment is specifically there to say no, they can't do that.
See, look at that. A young Brit knows more about our government than most people here. It's
Common sense. I thought the left want the power to be in the hands of the people. They don't want someone...
Let's stop all this left and right nonsense.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean, though. I thought they want the power to be in the hands of the people, but no. No.
No. You see, they want to replace what they consider evil with what they consider good.
It reminds me of Meghan Markle. They want all of the upsides and none of the downsides. And then they complain when they realize the downsides in anything exists. It's infuriating.
Well, yes, but Meghan Markle, honestly, like, as for her, the media literally was supporting her purely because of the fact that she was quote-unquote non-white, even though if you were to look at her and not know her genetic...
Yeah, I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know that looking at her.
No, but that's the thing, though. If you looked at her...
Let's move from that. Speaking of good and bad and left and all that, I want to focus on a nice comparison of... howdy, Bill. We just had Bill show up in chat. What's going on, Bill?
Hey.
Hey, Bill. I know that Don the Pleb's going to come drinking with you guys tonight. I happen to have a free Friday night for a change. If you want to have me over on your stream to hang out and shoot the breeze with you, Don, and Tank, I'd be glad to come on with you guys tonight if you want me. So that'll be later tonight on Bill's channel. Let me go ahead and share that since he just popped in here. I keep all my links handy here. They're just in a big file. There we go.
Oh, yeah, I've been doing. Yeah, Bill.
Bill is all -1, and that's his channel. And he broadcasts over on DLive, which is the following link here. It's called, The Ends Justify the Memes. And we have had Bill on the show before. He's a good man. He cares about God and country. He's a father. He's a great guy. And the links there are where you can find him. He has live streams every week on Wednesday night called The Ends Justify the Memes, and he is an absolute delight. And we definitely plan on having him back on our show more often in the future, especially when we get together a secondary weekly stream where we have on more than one special guest at a time. I'd love to get Bill more involved with those sometime. But anyway, howdy, Bill. Thank you for being here today. What we're going to look at now is a comparison in this tweet here. This guy, Drew Holden, who I don't really know, he says, I ask this earnestly. If your only exposure to each was the New York Times respective obituaries, would you rather be Rush, divisive style of mockery, grievance, and denigrating language, Limbaugh, or Qasim, master of Iran's intrigue, Soleimani? And now, I'd like to show you the comparison. The New York Times Rush Limbaugh obituary says, Rush Limbaugh dies at 70, turned talk radio into a right-wing attack machine with a following of 15 million and a divisive style of mockery, grievance, and denigrating language. He was a force in reshaping American conservatism. And then Qasem Soleimani, master of Iran's intrigue, built a Shiite axis of power in the Middle East. The commander helped direct wars in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, and he became the face of Iran's efforts to build a regional bloc of Shiite power. Now, while one could argue each one is factually true, you can see the slant on each side, right? Surely you guys can see.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is like some austere religious scholarship.
I was just about to mention that.
Don't remind me of that, Jesus.
I would say
austere Austrian painter.
I would say it's as bad as the what was that guy in Iran? I forget his name. Religious scholar, was it?
That's what we're saying. That's what we're referring to.
Yeah,
that's what
You're a religious scholar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, howdy, Bailey. We got Bailey in the chat here. Bailey's out in Portland.
Sadly,
Bailey,
underperforming painter from Austria.
Bailey, how's the weather out in Portland these days?
Oof.
Just say Marmite face.
All right. But the reason I brought this up was just to show that oftentimes here on my channel, you'll hear me say you can never be anti-white enough for the anti-white narrative. And one of the reasons that that's true is it doesn't matter how good of a man you are, how good of a black or a Muslim or a Jew or anything else you might happen to be. It doesn't matter how progressive you are. Media will slant you and try to destroy you if it benefits the narrative. And old Rush Limbaugh, now, I'm old. I've listened to this man for 20 years. He has said some establishment shit. He has said some crony big business shit. He has said a lot of shit that I don't agree with over the years. And a lot of it was in service to, let's say, the establishment, right? And here they are dragging his ass anyway. Now, true, in the last 10 years, he has been anti-establishment pretty much in every way, especially being on board with Trump and all that. And I don't dislike Rush. I've always liked him, but Then again, I have a soft spot in my heart for all shock jocks, even Howard Stern, even though I don't like him. I like shock comedy. I like shock jocks. Maybe it's because I'm Gen X. That's just how I am. But I have a soft spot in my heart for Rush. But, you know, even he throughout his life talked a lot of what I would consider media lies and would support certain elements of the establishment, especially in the early aughts. And even somebody like him is going to get thrown under the bus, even though he was, you know, big time in media and all that. And somebody who clearly is anti-white, Mr. Soleimani, is going to get a pass no matter how evil and terrible that man might have been. He gets a pass. So this is just something good to illustrate that with. Any questions or comments you guys have about any of that?
I mean, I think it just comes to show you the press and the however you want to describe the establishment of how that media narrative slant wants to go. I mean, they're always going to do whatever it takes to suit their narrative. I mean, it's been how many years now since we've had all the anti-Bush, anti-war stuff from the left, and now George W. Bush has been essentially rehabilitated to fit the narrative because he's their guy. He's, you know, they're part of the establishment. He's a good old boy, despite the fact that they hated him for all 8 years of his administration.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it more if they would just come out and say they don't have a spine, because at least then we'd be at least dealing with a modicum of honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they won't do that. They're too busy trying to play with the veil.
Oh, anything from you, Zen?
Sadly, I don't know much about Rush Limbaugh, so I can't offer any. But it's the twats are going to be twats. I'm starting to really become numb to it.
No.
Well, let's move away from this then. Let's start talking more about our special guest today. I'm going to put some on screen. We're not going to play the video, but this is one of the things that our guest, the Prudentialist, does. This is his pre-made content. He has Monday morning musings, and he offers insights and criticisms about elements of our civilization, of our culture. And I highly recommend it. This is one that I listened to in its entirety earlier, and it's good stuff. The Prudentialist is a young man, only about 25, but he's really smart. He's got a good head on his shoulders, and he likes to talk about the things that matter. And I like the things that he talks about, and I think that they are important for people to be aware of. He's not a white positive activist like me, but he talks about things that are valuable to our society and things that young men should be concerned about. So why don't we let you talk about yourself a minute, for Prudentialist, and maybe tell us about this video or Monday morning musings in general, and just give us a talk about you and what's important to you in your work.
Sure. So, like the video that you have up on screen, I do a weekly, just a little rant, a little ramble about things that are on my mind, things that I don't think that would make for a full-length scripted video, but things that I think are worth talking about. So every Monday, it keeps me in a rhythm of producing content to talk about, and it's just things that are on my mind.
Helps a lot when you got to make yourself do content.
Absolutely, scheduling matters, and it keeps. But more importantly, it keeps me disciplined, because I tell myself every Monday I've got to put something out, and it's something worthwhile that I think is worth discussing.
I must have a discipline.
Yeah, discipline's important. Unless, of course, you have the weather that gets in the way, like it did this week. That's why I put out the little walk video this week. But
I liked it. That was beautiful. I watched it 2 or 3 times. I loved getting to see all the beautiful snow there where you are.
Oh, I know. I used to live in El Paso, Texas for almost a decade. So transitioning from a desert in the mountains to having snow in the seasons is just beautiful. But I've been political for a very long time. I've been paying attention to politics since I was, like you had mentioned, I'm only 25. So I've been paying attention to politics since I was about 9 in 2004 in the Bush v. Kerry election, in part because father was there in the Pentagon at 9/11. My entire childhood innocence changed. Evil exists out there in the world. So I've been understanding politics for quite some time. Because of my father's military service and everything else, like I've leaned more towards the right, pro-United States, pro-Western, nationalist attitudes. And, I've been listening to people all my life in terms of that. Like you grew up listening, like you mentioned, you listened to Rush Limbaugh for 20 years, me being late millennial, early Gen Z.
Just on and off, not religiously.
Well,
just on and off. I try to listen to everybody.
Yeah, but listening to that stuff, right? So, like, for my generation, right, you have YouTube sphere, so it's been everywhere from, for a lot of people, I think everyone's a lot of intro to, non-lefty, non-woke talking points, non-anti-white stuff has been, Sargon, and then you just sort of, find your own way. And I was like, well, people in my real world have always gone to me asking for my opinions on, well, what do you think about politics? What do you think about how to get engaged and to change the world? And I always would provide answers and provide commentary and answer the questions. And I was always, living in El Paso, I'm like the only white guy in my friend group and talking about politics from a right-leaning perspective. And I was like, I feel like I could do more if I could get my audience out there. And of course, when I lived in El Paso, I got involved in local county politics. I got involved as an elections judge and a poll watcher and a precinct chair. And I was like, wow, local politics is incredibly accessible. And I feel like a lot of the problems that we complain about online can be addressed by actually taking the necessary steps to get involved locally. And I think that's really important to me. So one of the first videos I really put out, and you can find it on my channel, is talking about positions of influence in local areas. So whether that's your county commissioners, your city council, local election judges, all these things are really important for how our society is framed. And I feel like I
even made several videos last year about that, talking about getting people to look up who their elected officials are in their state, write them letters, give them emails, that kind of thing, because that's really important. We can actually make a difference on the local level, because especially if you live in rural America like me, your local executive mayor, and that's what they call a mayor of a county instead of a city municipality. They have different names. Like sometimes it's Lord Governor and old timey words up in New England and shit. But a lot of times you got these people that are local, and because of how we're all jacked into mainstream media and the internet and everything, lots of times just regular folks think that the problems are too big for their voice to matter, but that's not at all true on the local level. Because in a municipality, maybe your local mayor or your local magistrate or whatever, they might not get more than a handful of letters a month. And if you get 20 or 30 people angry at your church to write letters, they're going to pay attention, because that's going to be like 5 times the amount of attention they usually get each month. And if they're all angry about the same thing, you can get your local elected sheriff or your local municipality leaders to pay attention to you, especially if you're willing to go down to whatever your local government building is and rabble rouse and get in people's faces and be like, hey, dude, I don't like this anti-white crap of this talk about the FedGov leaning on you and forcing you to have Section 8 housing around here. We got a nice, quiet, small town with no crime. And then you can start quoting crime statistics and talking about America Forward over in California. And you can get a lot of people riled up around you, and you can make a difference in your local level. Like I got a 30-second mention for my flyer campaign going up against the anti-whites in the BLM art exhibit last year on the local news. I even had 2 local outlets talk about what I did. And that was just me and a couple of guys driving around talking to people and handing out flyers. We didn't even protest or march or nothing. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Oh, no, you're absolutely
up trying to encourage people to get active on the local level.
But you're absolutely right, though. Putting the pressure on locally is what helps preserve your community and preserve what makes your neighborhood good. And even though, due to some health reasons, I can't necessarily go out and do all the things that I can, the thing I've been stressing a lot lately is that, especially as a young person, knowing the difference between left-leaning young people and right-leaning young people, is that the left-leaning young person is willing to go out and knock on doors and, canvass for their Bernie Sanders socialist candidate. Whereas the right-leaning person is more likely to shitpost on Twitter and find communities online. And that is one of the biggest things, or just grill. And don't get me wrong, I love to grill. I love to cook. I like growing my own food. I love doing all those things. But I cannot enjoy the privilege of grilling or having a cookout with friends and family if I don't have the neighborhood to have those people living close by to begin with. So if I can convince just a small number of people to focus locally, then we're doing something right.
One of the things that I like to talk about when it comes to quote-unquote nationalists, just all of us people who are on the right or care about our own kinfolk and all that stuff, like the problem with the whole grill thing is we just want to grill. They want to collectivize and use tanks to take our grills. And so if we just grill and hide in our bunkers and live in our little mountain hollers and think that we never need to vote or write a letter or anything, we're eventually going to lose. So that's why for 2 or 3 years now, I've become more of the Ethnat Natsock cluster of we need to unify and rally around just wanting to grill and wanting our kids to have a future and wanting to keep Drag Queen Story Hour and BLM art exhibits out of our local schools. Because that shit is cancer, and it's going to kill us, and it's going to poison our kids' minds. And on top of that, if we don't do anything to stop it, why would our local elected officials think that we care to stop it? We got to tell them. We got to get our voices together. We got to start becoming active at the local level. And more than anything, we got to get out of our houses and leave our little bunkers and go make friends with each other and talk to each other. Because pretty soon, they can just flip the switch, and none of us are going to be able to talk to each other online. So we got to start building real communities, making real networks. We got lots of people across America that are American nationalists, getting out the ham radios, getting ready to, preparing for when they throw the old ban hammer on all of us from Silicon Valley. And I think that all those things are important. And like Don the Pleb says, I love it. I love this part of what he talks about. He says, do the things, do all the things. I don't care what the things you are that you're doing, but go do the things. And that matters. Like if you really love church and you love God, well, start talking about this stuff at church. Get your church group active about the satanic, evil, anti-Christian forces that are trying to destroy everything at your college. And tell them, don't send your kids to public school. Don't let your kids watch these cancerous cartoons that are full of evil anti-white diversity stuff and that teach your kids satanic values. Like, no matter who you are and what you're doing in America, you can do little things with your speech, with your activities, with just 5 or 10% of your free time, not all your time, just a little percent of your free time. You can make a huge difference in shaping our country and the society around us.
Absolutely. And to me, that's why I decided to make a channel to begin with, because it's just like I've been writing stuff. I write letters to the editor in my local paper. I do what I can to get the word out with what I'm available to. And it's just like, let's try and reach a larger audience and have people come along with this political journey for me, because it started out being involved politically so young. Like I was like, very pro-Bush in the early aughts, and then becoming fiercely libertarian, anti-war, and then now it's very much more of a reactionary, like preserve the culture, preserve the community kind of deal. And if we don't do that, then we've got a problem.
There's a lot of overlap with American Nats, Ethnats, and the NRX community, because we all kind of want the same shit now.
Yeah.
We all just want global homo to end. We want the anti-white garbage to end. And we want to be able to just have our communities and churches and shit the way we want without having to be, crushed under the heel of this satanic progressive crap.
Oh, absolutely. And like in Don the Pleb and I have talked about it in the past, is that my position is very similar to Don's, where it's like you and I might not agree on 15% of the things, but that doesn't stop me from wanting to focus on the 85% of the shit that we do agree on and trying to accomplish those goals.
Exactly. And I think most people that are following me here now and watching, they know my persuasion. I wear it on my sleeve. But anybody who's pro-West and is pro, well, you're not allowed to say it on YouTube. Anyone who's white positive, anyone who wants to stop the globo homo ugliness is welcome to come to this community and share their ideas, because we all got to start banding together. We can't just stay in these little clusters and argue about particulars online forever, because we are losing. And I think that we're about to change the tide, though, because there's like 70 plus million Americans that just had the rug pulled out from under them, and then the media rubbed it in our faces, and now the usurper in chief built a wall around the damn Capitol. So I think that there's a lot of people paying attention right now that are never going to make that mistake again, and they're going to let everybody in their church groups and their gun clubs and everybody else know just exactly how they effing feel. And boy, howdy, after the shitstorm of November and December, let me tell you, around here in my mountain holler, everybody's talking about it. And I bet you it's the same a lot of places across rural America. Where you live there in Texas, now, I don't want to dox you, but do you live in El Paso?
Not anymore. No, I live in the northern part of the state. I'm much closer to Oklahoma now, but
oh, good. Okay, yeah,
it's much more rural environment. People, I got more cows as neighbors than I do
and
people.
More trees. There's more trees up that way, right?
Yeah.
Around your area, did you notice a lot more people start being really vocally upset about what's going on in the state of things and the steel and all that?
I mean, people around here haven't put their Trump flags away yet. They're still waving them around, and I mean,
that's how it is here too. Yeah.
And people are still getting involved. And the thing that I've noticed both online and in real life in the circles politically that I'm involved with is that there's been this debate about red pilling people. And there's some that say that, we've reached a plateau. We need to work with the groups that we already have in our ranks. And I disagree with that. I think that the rug being pulled out under them and then them flagrantly mocking us with that Time article about fortifying the election tells us that no, there are so many more people that have just woken up to how messed up and how far gone things are, and that we need to work.
Oh, yeah. Let me put some up here on the screen here. Got a thing to share.
I was gonna say, because you're talking about like getting in touch with the people in your real life, and it's like, well, that's for the few of us that it's legal for that to happen. Sadly for me and Kizza, that's not quite the case.
No,
Yeah, well,
no, Zen.
The thing about that is, it doesn't matter if it's quote unquote illegal or not. It is imperative that we do not allow tyranny. Now, I'm not saying go out and try to get yourself arrested, but what I'm saying is, if everyone just said, "I'm not wearing a mask, fuck it," or "I'm going to church," we're all going to go to church and give the government the finger, then that's the end of it. Like, we are still at the point to where if we would just get our people to say no to this tyranny, it would stop. But if we keep giving in and keep willingly let them make the manacles and the collar tighter, eventually we're not going to have the ability to do that. So that's why I try to encourage people to, like, again, do not crime. I'm not trying to tell you to crime. I'm just saying a little civil disobedience on a large scale is what we need right now.
Yes, well, sadly that takes a lot more than just us, and a lot
Lead
of us
by
have
example,
already...
man. I do all the time.
Well,
I go out without a
can't...
mask, and I argue with people all the time. And
I know, but
every time I got to go
can't...
to the local grocery store and I see them fools wearing masks, I'm like, when the people are checking me out, I'm like, don't you feel like a clown wearing that? Aren't you sick of this? And every single time they roll their eyes and are like, yeah, this is dumb. I can't believe they make us do this. And so I keep pushing. I keep poking that monkey in the cage. And hopefully it'll ape out and break that cage. And I think we all need to be doing that.
So you can't lead when there's no one to lead. So
maybe
it's from where you live.
That is stinking thinking, man. I don't care where you are in England. There's a lot of people who are willing and ready. You just got to be the catalyst. Keep poking.
Well,
keep poking.
Like I say, I mean, you listen to how people talk when they don't realize you disagree. I'm in a WhatsApp group with my dad and some of his friends, and some of the things they say, it's grim, man.
Well,
you know,
make other friends, do other stuff. Sorry,
yeah. No. What I was gonna say was, it's just like, I don't know how sometimes the UK how that is, because I see those YouGov polls where they're talking about punishments for disobeying the rules that they have on their lockdowns and how many people agree, and I'm like, I cannot be in a land of the glorious revolution of like 1880. There's no way that can possibly be the same people.
I desperately hope it's not true, but I mean, no one's done anything yet. No one's standing up and telling the government we won't accept this. No.
Well, we can't give up.
I hate to be the resident black pillar, but it really does feel like there's no one on our side, at least where I am.
Well, and I said not too long ago in a video not to bring up the history between the Brits and us Yankees over here, but I was telling people, it was like, just take the John Paul Jones pill. Just say, I have not yet begun to fight, because to me, I think that there is nothing more honorable than that last valiant stand of a cause that many people would deem lost.
Hell yeah. I'm going to die with my axe and shield and Viking helmet on, buddy. Let's go to Valhalla. Let's get it. Get some. I
was going to say to Kizza, like, Kizza, what's it like in your side of England? Because I mean, I'm in a place that has been predominantly a Labour stronghold for as long as I know. So maybe you live somewhere a bit more based. But
no, Zen, you forget. I live in the OG hipsters of college towns, and it's been a Labour seat since it got a seat. And you forget I live in a wonderful melting pot of a city. Overpriced, and quite frankly, most people just honestly do not care. Quite frankly, they do not care.
Well, you're in a good place then, it seems, despite all else.
Well, when I say do not care, it's just people are just doing what they want. Some people are going on buses without masks, some are going with them, some are just not wearing them properly, others are wearing four back to back to back to back.
I cannot believe that's a thing.
Again, this is the power of propaganda and fear. Me personally, like, at work, I have to wear a mask because that's PPE. But guess what? That's PPE because that's just to protect work. And if I get COVID, guess what? I get furloughed because of it. Ultimately, I know that sucks in your position and many others because they ain't got a job or because of a fat Turk didn't enforce common sense.
Is he Turkish? I didn't know that.
Well, he is a Turk heritage.
I didn't know that. I don't know.
Yeah,
He's always been the pinnacle of posh Britishness to me. But
well. He's quote unquote posh, but let's be frank here. He's an utter clown, and it makes me laugh how so many people I knew from like school, or people who loved him as mayor, like 12, 13 years ago, utterly detest his guts now. And then I may speak to one of them
because
like
the newspapers
a year
told
ago.
them. Because the newspapers told them that he was the new hated man, and they went.
Oh no! But what's funny is that they try and say, "Oh, you must love Boris," and I'm like, "No, I'd never liked him to begin with, and in fact, I hate him even more than you guys do."
Yeah.
Difference is, I never brought his stick, and that's why, for me, it frustrates me when you have political commentators with vastly bigger voices than us being far too
Mental.
no, not sentimental, far too naive. Yeah, lenient and naive when it comes to certain parties. It's just like, no, don't give them an inch. I hate to use the authoritarian propaganda here or thinking, but when it comes to the politicians right now, you have to treat them as if they were a child connoisseur, quote unquote, locked in a children's hospital.
I think the problem is a lot of our leaders are child connoisseurs, if you know what I mean.
Well, when it comes to a certain person who shall not be named in a certain location that shall not be named, because that would violate Miss Susan Wojcicki's terms of service, and quite frankly, the people do not care. And it makes me laugh that we have people who claim to be against the system, when in reality, they're no different to the so-called rebels in the Matrix. You're not really fighting against it. You're just playing a part in the grander game.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the problem for 50 or 60 years, is there is no actual quote-unquote right-wing or nationalist party or politician at play. It's a bunch of people in service to the establishment at the federal level, and I'm sure it's the same in the UK too. It's the global homo crowd and the mass migration people. They get their way, and the ones who supposedly are supposed to resist that, they just stand by and let it happen a little slower than the other ones want. That's it. They all are on the same road with the same goal. Just some of them beat the nationalistic drums from time to time to keep us in our bunkers. That's it. But now we see them. Now we know. And what are we going to do about it? Well, you got Patriotic Alternative. You got BNP. You got a bunch of stuff going on. You got people that are sick and tired.
I'm working on resolving UKIP. We are working behind the scenes to salvage what remains. And the nice thing about there being no one left in this party is that the few people who have stuck around might actually have some fucking sway. So I'm in contact with some people that might be able to bring this thing together. Sadly, well, the one thing they said to me was like, "Well, do you want to run as MEP?" And I'm like, I can't really put that level of dedication. I don't even have a job that I can rely on, and that would cripple me for life. If I did that.
I mean, honestly, like me, I remember I was ranting in a taxi like a couple of years ago, and a guy said to me, "Why don't you get into politics?" I'm like, it would be a complete waste of time. He's like, why?
I'd go into politics if I could guarantee my income, but I
can understand your case then.
I already fear that my brief stint running for councillor managed to blacklist me from jobs the amount of times I just don't hear back from anywhere. Well, it's a genuine fear I have of that.
Well, yeah, but whereas like my case, if I was to be running, I'll spend pretty much at a minimum 75% of the time straight up going after the media.
Good.
No, and like I'm not saying this as like I'm some sort of honey badger, politically speaking. But if I did have that influence, I would just be relentlessly attacking the media. Just going after anybody they even came in my proximity. But the problem is, although that is something, well, yeah, and the thing is, to quote a very controversial figure in American history, the media have immense power that I'm going to butcher the quote here, so forgive me. The media can make someone completely guilty look completely innocent and safe, and make an innocent man look completely guilty.
I can believe it. Yeah,
and I'm sure Yizz, our guest here, and people in the chat will know who I'm referring to regarding the quote itself.
I apologize. We've made it a bit UK centric.
No.
That
It's
happens.
That's
fine. I mean,
no. But like,
we're talking about the Anglosphere. It's basically the UK and America.
Well, yes, but also like, because I was speaking with certain social media circles I hang in, and part of me kind of wishes, and I'm trying to put this in such a way that will not flag under, this video will not be flagged, but when it comes to the so-called what happened at the beginning of the year, part of me does consider that they went all in.
Like they stuck around. They didn't just politely leave at the end like they did.
No. I mean, go all in.
Oh, are you talking about introducing our political leaders to the French style of dealing with people we don't like?
Well,
I'm not going to lie. I tell you what, it burns my British soul, but I am respecting the French more and more as time goes on. I hate it.
Well, Zen, you forget. We did yeet a former king.
Mm-hmm.
We did yeet a former king.
Yeah.
People forget that.
This UK France talk is making my gun soft. Let's talk about something.
I'm sorry. But I was getting pointed America, right? But my point being is that if let's say where some people did something, to quote Ilhan Omar, a wonderfully progressive Democrat senator.
I hate that bitch.
I know, but remember, I'm using V's method here. You got to caress the ego of these people, as much as you hate them. That if, let's say, some people
I'd like to caress her with an M1 Garand, but go ahead.
Me personally, I would like to caress her with a 24-inch chainsaw made out of titanium. But yes, let's say some people
suffer not the Xenos, brother.
Yes, protect the Empire. Even though I've never played Warhammer 40k, but let's say those people really did something very, very badly. I think then you could say it is afraid, and then they would be much more wary of the beast that they have unleashed. And I have spoken about this before with other people, especially on Bill and Tank with previous streams. Please do check it out. They need all the love they can get. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And they might have gone past 1,000 actually, thanks to Don the Pleb. But and Matt Christensen. But
Matt Christensen.
Yes. And with that, they would then be fasting, and let's say they were to go all in, maybe with some meme music as well, then I think the sheer pushback against it, they would be vastly more wary of what they've done, and be very, very wary of trying to pull something out. And given some of the rhetoric that we've heard regarding a certain witch trial, and I don't care what the media says, it's a blatant witch trial. If it's the literal definition of one. I would dare say, if I was a really, really sadist individual, I'm not sure if this is the case in America for you, Yizz, or our guest here, but in the UK, all our politicians, technically, you can request their information regarding their addresses. I'm not sure if that's the case in America.
I feel like I need to be the person here who says I disavow where this may be going.
No, don't
No.
I gotta step in here. Shut up, everybody. Shut up. Okay, you have dozens of people that are high-profile politicians in America talking about following people to their homes. Don't let them sleep. Go to where they get gas. Go to where they get the grocery store. Don't give them any quarter. Take the fight to them. That's the rhetoric on the lips of all the United States politicians that are behind the fucking hordes of nignogs and Antifa trashing cities across America. They started this. They want this. We take it to them more than they take it to us. I'm sick and tired of this shit. We have to get our hands dirty. And I'm not talking about crime. I'm talking about badgering people, getting in people's faces. letting people know that we're upset. We need to start doing that. And we are a lot bigger and more powerful and more convicted than they are, because we're the ones that actually have farms and churches and children that are on the line. They don't. We got to fight them the same way that they've been fighting us. And we don't have politicians in the media to speak for us. That's why we have to be the ones to say the shit that their leaders are saying. We have to lead our people on that kind of crusade, because it works. It puts the pressure on the right people, and we can make that happen. And that's why PA and all the people in the UK that are behind this nationalist movement support them. Over here in America, we don't have anything like that, but we have disparate groups that are trying to do the same thing, and channels like mine are trying to unify them together. People like Don the Pleb trying to get all the amnats together to get on the same page of activism and getting in people's faces, getting up in people's DMs and voicemails and shit at the local level, going out to your what do you call it, local courthouse, walking around with signs for a while, talking about crime this and immigrants that and stop this program and all this shit. We have to start being active and loud and making the people that are in power feel pain. And I don't mean like in a criminal way. I mean in like a professional way. We have to put discomforting pressure on those very people, just like they've been doing for decades. We got to start doing that. I'm done. Sorry. So
I agree.
fine.
I just didn't have anything to add. You summed it up perfectly.
No, but like, sorry to interrupt, but like, because one of the suggestions I did make was taking a page from a certain time period regarding the islands, and let's just say they had a very effective strategy, which ultimately worked.
You wouldn't by chance happen to be referring to the Troubles, would you?
Oh no! The Troubles. No. That was just That was just a complete misunderstanding.
Remember the 3rd of November when riggers committed the steal.
Oh my life.
Mm-hmm.
No, remember, fortified, not rigged.
Fortified.
No. Remember the 3rd of November when riggers committed the steal. I came up with that a while back. I've been trying to get it to catch on.
Yes, hack into the airways and screens of New York City and keep playing that over and over and over again. But alas, but to
add to a corollary to what you're saying, though, Yizz, is and something that I think that the when there's overlap between here and say the NRX crowd is that I think they rightly identify that they want that to happen, and to a point where the analogy I've heard from like Curtis Yarvin and others is that they want the dog to get angry so the dog will bark and bite, and so that they can put down the dog. And this is why I think it's so important that we organize, because I mean they can destroy a local individual's livelihood, they can dox them, and they can ruin it. But if we are organized and we have legal defense funds, we have businesses that we can go to, where we can hire fellow like-minded people.
Yes,
that's what we need more than anything right now.
Yes,
is that
and
infrastructure, that ground
one of the reasons that I like a lot of the because we have people in the whole in the ANCAP libertarian crowd that are like us, not many but some, and I like the ideas they have about creating our own parallel secondary chains of commerce and trade and stuff. That's why I had Orel on last year with this Polstrap project. I like talking to libertarians that want to create their own methods of whether it's crypto, blockchain related, or whatever. We have to start on a local level, getting people used to communicating, sharing goods and services, and building that kind of community trust and trade up, because then you can start weaning your people off of usury, away from mortgages, away from college loans, away from having to have these awful multinational conglomerate bank accounts. We don't want our people to rely on PayPal and this other shit, because those are all tools our enemies use to keep us weak and controlled. It's all about usury of us. Why do you think that the Fed started and money has been hand in hand with our oppressors all along? Because they know if they can get us from stop being financially and resource dependent, then they own us. They own us with trade. They own us with money and debt. And we have to break that shackle. And that's another reason I encourage people to live rural and grow their own food and have their own chickens and shit. Because the more that you don't need them, the less power they have over us.
Oh, absolutely. The more the competing and alternative institutions are essential. But what I've been saying in regards to sort of the culture war on sort of a macro scale is that it is a two-front battle. You need people who are willing to be on the ground fighting in the muck of the current institutions, of our current ways of politics and our banks and our schools and everything in the press. You need people on the ground who can fight back. That way you buy the time for the second front of all the business leaders and entrepreneurs and creators who want to build their new banks, build their new farms, build their new cities. You give them the time they need to get established so they don't get canceled. Academic Agent's got his academic agency. We need more people to do things like that. Sargon's got his media company now. We need people who are willing to fight back to buy the time for people to set up their own businesses so we can be safe and secure in our own high trust communities.
I wish
That
that
reminds me
prick
of
would let
something.
people fucking join his business without moving to fucking Swindon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that reminds me of
well,
something I want to share today.
Swindon's not that
And-
bad.
No, but I can't just move to Swindon.
I know, Zen, but on that point regarding a certain Mr. Benjamin, sorry, Mr. Benjamin, but writing a strongly worded letter will not work.
No, one of the things I wanted to
Well,
talk about
I tried to give him some shit today about things.
Shut up!
but-
Shut up! Shut
Okay.
up! One of the things I wanted to talk about in regards to building our own shit is in the white positive community, we have finally gotten off the ground a white positive education curriculum called School of the West, and I'm going to share that for everybody right now. It is a curriculum that is for teaching young kids about your history, your people, in a white positive, healthy way that the Anglosphere will like, and I'm going to share that right now. And yes, Iron Spark over on DLive. Sargon is a laughable clown. All right. I like him. He's got a beautiful voice, and he's good dad husband material, but he's got some shit-ass clown world takes, I tell you what. What I just shared right now is called the School of the West. It is a curriculum for Western people to raise their children in a healthy, holistic way that teaches them about history and connectivity to their people and the myriad different ethnicities of Western kind, all through the lens of a healthy white racial consciousness without making it cringe or weird. And we have, so far, we've got an introduction to white well-being, language and arts, history and culture, mathematics and science, and soon there's going to be art working directly with the White Art Collective. The White Art Collective is they're the ones that I go and sing karaoke with, the ones that I promoted. American Zarathustra is going to be on our channel next Friday. He's our next guest, and he's part of the White Art Collective. Give me just a second to share this here. I'm trying to get it on screen, but Chrome isn't working with me here. And yes, I know Chrome sucks, but you have to use it for StreamYards. I'm eventually going to get off of StreamYards and just use Restream.io, but I haven't quite figured out how to make all that work yet because I'm fucktarded. Okay,
So-
it finally worked. Okay, can you guys see this?
Let's see here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, good. All right, good. So this is something that a wonderful man named Brant Danger, that's his screen name, of course. He keeps his real identity hidden. He's been working for a long time to put together these curricula. And as you can see here, it's got white well-being, language arts, history and culture, mathematics and science, and the art one's coming soon. And let's see here. Yeah. Let me click on the life science one here just to show you about it. See, it's professionally done. He's got the homeschool curriculums laid out by lessons, and he is a professional educator, and he has been working on this for over a year now. And Chrome sucks. I have to redo it.
It's all right. We can be patient.
There it goes. Let me make this a little bigger so you guys can see it. So, race difference lecture series, genetic differences. So, he has laid out here videos, PDFs you can download to help educate people about their people, about what makes us different and how similarities, differences between races and different ethnicities in science. And then, of course, damn it, Chrome. I hate Chrome. Every time I change a thing, it makes me redo it over on the StreamYard here. And so there's structural, psychologic, reproductive, disease predilection, mental, behavioral, psychological. Let's go back. And so let's look at mathematics here. And it's got, right now, he's got math up to 5th grade and an introduction to algebra. And this is all free. He works completely on donations because he wants to help our people have the ability to have a unified place that we can come to get healthy, white positive curricula to our children to homeschool them and raise them on proper European history and European ethnocentrism. And it's great stuff. I've looked through about half of these, and it's wonderful. It's very professionally done. So this is School of the West. So anyway, I wanted to share that because that just recently culminated in its own website, and I just wanted to get that out there to people.
That's
Looks
nice.
incredibly well done.
Yeah. He's done amazing work. It's great stuff. If you have young kids and you want to raise them right, I definitely recommend getting in touch with him. You can get his email to the parent server. You can email him and become part of the parent server to network with other parents who want to raise their children on a healthy European history and white positive curriculum. You can get in touch with him. So they plan on by the end of this year, about 10 months from now, having a full kindergarten to 8th grade curricula for the entirety of K through 8 home education in this same vein.
That's impressive in such a quick turnaround time. And sort of an extension to Radical Liberation, who's been a recent guest with Academic Agent Streams. He and his wife homeschool.
We talk about
their
Chad
children.
Lib on this channel quite a bit.
Yeah,
Chad Lib is the man to emulate.
I love him. He is the guy to be. He's got 8 kids, a beautiful wife. They homeschool all of them. He's got his own land.
He's also smart and has a beautiful voice.
Oh yeah, I love listening to him.
It's funny you mentioned that because I came across another YouTuber who it turns out has 5 kids. You guys might know
the one.
that.
I know the one. Yes.
Yes, for those who don't know, I'm talking about Shad Diversity.
Oh yeah, he's got
Shad Diversity. Oh yeah, I remember. He did a talk with Carl recently on a COD, right?
Yeah, literally the other day because
kids. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm like, dude. I made me laugh when he spoke about his wife. He got married after 2 weeks. I'm just like.
Yeah, I remember sitting there like, right, okay.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's going to have to be at least 2 years before I even consider tying the knot.
You rolled a fucking dice there, mate. Be glad you got a 20.
Yeah, that's D&D dice. Sadly, I don't play D&D because I wasn't that much of a nerd.
Because you're not gay, that's what you're saying.
Excuse you.
No, sorry. Let me just... Sorry, I gotta implement the abridged voice here. Nerd!
Of course.
But yes.
I actually have a new tabletop group I'm in. Yay.
Lucky you.
Reminded me. Yeah.
But alas.
But yeah, I could imagine having fucking 5 kids. I mean, Jesus, I feel bad for kids with that many siblings. Like, at some point, there starts to be, like, there's too many.
Yeah, but as I know with parents who have lots of kids, they end up entertaining each other. So it's pretty much a double-edged sword.
Yeah, on the homeschooling on the homeschool stream, Chad Lib and his wife, they talked about how if you have a lot of kids, they have 8. I think it's they range ages 3 to 11, I think. Yeah. But they have 8 kids, and she has been homeschooling all of them. And the ones that are older now, like I think the 10 and the 11-year-old, they know the curriculum and are so used to living a family life of getting up every day, making food together, exercising together, doing hygiene together and all this other stuff. They help teach the younger ones without the mother having to do it all. It's a natural learning environment where the older kids teach the younger kids. And I think that's beautiful. That's how our people should be. Like, I don't want, fractured families where they barely see their children each week and they have to go to public schools and you got complete strangers with conflicting ideologies teaching your kids about the most important stuff in life. The family should do that. Your own siblings should do that. And I think that we all should strive to have healthy families like that. And just imagine if communities of hundreds of Chad Libs were together and you had thousands of men and women making wonderful families, raising 3, 4, and 5 kids who all helped teach each other good values and community and how to, everything from how to chop wood to how to go hunting, how to, field strip an assault rifle, like all these wonderful life skills. If you had a whole community of wonderful families teaching each other this stuff, then you don't need the government. You don't need these cancerous corporations. You don't need the media. You don't need public schools. That's what we should strive for, is that.
That is ultimately the goal. But sadly, thanks to decades upon decades of cancerous ideas and propaganda, that is very hard to achieve.
I think it all starts with financial usury. That's been their game all along.
Oh, for sure. But also, I'm just saying, like, as well, especially where I live, it's very hard for the average person to raise a family.
Yeah,
because of the sheer cost of children.
That's why I'm very black-pilled and sort of a bit anti-kids, is because like, you can't raise kids in a healthy environment these days. It's almost impossible.
I know Bill in chat knows what I'm talking about. Remember in the early 1900s where there was a big conflict with the banks where property started changing hands and being sold off to the I forget what the name of the conglomerate was, but that's where the whole meme of get off my bottom land comes from, when the bankers come around and say, I own this land now, get off of it. Even if people had owned that land for generations, it was just being sold out from under them. That shit happened in our country, man. That's why I say it all goes back to financial dominance and debt usury. Like, this game's been rigged for 100 years, man. It's bullshit. And we got to start getting away from that mess. We got to start making our land and our people, self-sustaining again. Because if we stay on the government corporate teat, then our children have no future no matter what. Because, like they say in this area, I don't know if they have a saying like this in the UK or not, but if a man ain't got land, he ain't got nothing. Because he's got nothing to leave his kids and nowhere for his grandkids to call home. I don't know if they have a similar phrase over there or not, but that really means something. And it comes from 100 years ago in the Dust Bowl and Great Depression era, when our debt slavery started, was back then.
Yeah, this is very true. I mean, my sister's going to be having a daughter come June, and I can't wait for the sleepless nights. But you know what? It's going to be pain, but I'm looking forward to it. I can imagine it'll be like with my sister. She'll be like, yes, take when I'm not working. But can you take her, please? I'm like, yeah, sure. Sit her on my lap, play games, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go check chat. It's been a while. I got lost talking. Let's go check Entropy. Oh, Entropy's got nothing. Nothing over on Entropy. We got hello Iron Spark and Jim and Alex over in the other person's me. Hello guys over on D Live. Thank you for the lemons. Thank you for the diamond. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Let's refresh the old PayPal and the Cash App. See if we've got anybody giving me dollary dues today. All right, Cash App looks, nope, nothing new on Cash App and nothing new over on PayPal. So we are clear to keep talking.
Yeah.
So now is a good time, since we've been on here for over an hour. Prudentialist, is there a particular event or project that you have in the works that you'd like us to talk about today, or anything that you'd like to get off your chest now that you're here with an audience and like-minded people? Anything that's important to you want to talk about?
Sure. So I think as so many of us are online, I think it's important that we take the time offline to sort of enrich ourselves and learn and read more. So over on my channel, I have a book club. We call it Prudent Reads. And every month, the audience polls a new book that we all try and read together, and we all come in at the beginning of the month to go over. It's sort of like a book review, sort of like a book club kind of deal. Uh-huh. And we all talk about it and see what we learn from it, what we can glean from it, and how we can apply what we learn into our everyday lives and political action. So last month, we talked about Edmund Burke's Reflections on the Revolutions in France. And I thought that was it was a good time. We got to talk about the idea of inherited rights. Burke was really big on that concept about, the social contract exists, sure, but it's people who are dead are a part of it, people who are living, and people who have yet to be born. And what good is it for you of any people to change or erase those rights and beings if you're going to take it away from those of your future progeny? And to me, that makes a lot of sense to me, because it's like, I do care about the future. I want to have a family. I want to have a big family. Yeah. Like, the things that matter in my life means that I have to preserve the world that I want for my kids and my grandkids.
Absolutely. Let's get a big 14 in the chat for Will here. That's a good 14 moment there.
Yeah, that is very true. Also, I would add as well, it's going the whole thing about inheritance rights. It just makes me laugh how we basically, I hate to be the whole youngster against the boomers, old people trope, but as I've
Preach.
gotten older, as I've gotten older and looked into, like, just gone through down the rabbit hole, you just see all these steps which led to the current situation we are today. And it is very, and it's very easy for people, let's say, of the younger generation, to be incredibly blackpilled about it. But as a friend of mine correctly pointed out, where the current situation can provide fertile ground for one hell of a rebound, which has happened before.
There it is. Here's the slippery slope video. We're gonna.
Yes.
We go. Definitely watch this one. Oh, I didn't like that. Sorry. There we go. I rectified it. This is a great video of his. You definitely need to check this one out. This is one of the older ones of his I've seen. It's absolutely spot on. It's perfect. It is a great take on the slippery slope and what has happened and where we are. It's really good.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
so
mean-
we have the book club every month. I have a unscripted video every Monday, and I try to put out scripted content. The stuff that I have in the works right now is I'm talking about accelerationism in an upcoming video, comparing the ideas of Nick Land to Paul Virilio. So you have a neo-reactionary guy versus a French postmodernist, and they both have a lot of interesting things and a lot of things that overlap that I think will be fun to talk about. And then I'm also working on some more real life stuff that we can work on our day-to-day political discourse. The thing I've been working on is this idea called homeopathic politics, is that our discourse and like normie discourse is just straw men and slogans and things that we just tribalistically plant our feet to, and that never really lets us understand the nuance of things. And that, of course, gets compounded by the media and talk shows like Jon Stewart and Trevor Noah. So I'm working on ways to deprogram ordinary people from basic understanding of our diluted discourse and how to improve on that.
I think that's a noble goal, but I think that we shouldn't become too lost to that, because what we need to be focused on, in my opinion, is leading by example and creating new communities with people who are at least vaguely aware, if not fully aware, with what's going on. Because I'm not telling you not to do that. I'm just saying I do like trying to reach a more mixed community, but when it comes to my actual time and investment, I think that we should focus on building community and building structures with people who are already aware and moving forward that way, since we don't have a lot of time left.
Oh, I agree. That's why having these networks with so many people, like with what you do and like what Don the Pleb does, getting all these people together is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would add is a best way to communicate with the average person, if you're worried about dumping them all or using terms that instantly makes them eyes roll or turns their ears off, I would say use something that is known in so-called normie culture and sort of plant a seed and then see in that sense. So, for example, especially in England, especially in the UK, this won't necessarily work in the US of A. But when Yizz brings about anti-white or anti-whiteism, I use the term Anglophobe, and I always refer to Orwell and his language in all of his books, from Notes of Nationalism to 1984 to The Road to Wigan Pier, but also reference films which dive into this in a normie context, such as The Matrix. What else is a good example? The Matrix one.
I think Black Pigeon Speaks uses the term oikophobe from Roger Scruton a lot as well.
Yeah, exactly. So there's certain phrases which certain people will know of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, for instance, when I hear people use the term the deep state, I prefer to say it would be better if you just said the party. And people say, what do you mean by the party? You reference 1984. Then
and
people
you tell them it's the one technocratic megacorp party that runs everything. It's the one party.
It's INGSOC.
Yeah, it's basically INGSOC. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But like this is like a very subtle way of planting the seed. Because quite often because what I find quite often is you're effectively, it's like taking like a child and dumping the entire expanded universe Star Wars canon all at once. You know, they're not going to digest it all very quickly, all right? So you have to feed the seed and let it grow inside the mind.
Yeah, and that's what I do here in my area with the Go Free lexicon, talking about anti-whiteism and stuff, because you don't need to talk about, anything real complex with people to get them on board, because most people here in America are keenly aware that mass migration and demographic change are evident and are causing problems and crime and destroying everything. Even people here in the rural areas that don't have those problems, we see those problems getting closer to us every day. And that's an easy way to reach people, is talking about that. And people that are only vaguely aware, it's easy to get them on board with something simple like, hey, did you know that in the youth category on the last census that white youth are actually in a minority? And that means in 20 years, this won't be a white country. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that. And you can be like, yeah, man, ain't that crazy? And then that's all the end that you need, because that's easily provable and you can show it to them. And they'll be like, oh, holy crap. I didn't realize that the number of Asians in this country has gone up by a factor of 4 in the last 10 years. And you're like, yeah. And that doesn't count the 30 to 50 million illegals. Like, we don't know about them. So it's an easy way to broach the subject without having to talk about anything complex and socio-political. You just talk about simple factoids that directly interfere with people's lives. And I try not to go on and on about GLR, like George Lincoln Rockwell. I've been on a big GLR kick the last year or two. And one of the things that really stuck with me about his old speeches is he said, why do we always lose? Why do we always lose? Because we're talking about money and complex systems and systems of morality and what we can do from behind the pulpit and all this, when our enemies, they go out to the masses with the media and with schools, and they share, even though it's mostly lies, they share a relatable, simple, emotional message that gets thousands of people on board and just blindly vote that way. We got to start doing that. And so that's why I say we have to start reaching people with simple, easy to relate to stuff about crime and being replaced and their children having no future. That's a really easy sell to regular people. And so that's why I focus on that.
The problem is they've got their foot in the door already.
Well, then you shoot them in that damn foot and tell them to get out of your fucking house.
Yes,
okay,
but
it's easy to sidestep the metaphor there, but my point is,
No,
like, all of our rational or even non-rational emotional arguments have already been. Is that what gaslighting is? Is that what gaslighting is? It's like
no.
Okay, leave gaslighting aside for right now. That's defeatist thinking that you're having right now.
Yeah,
I guarantee you that if you start going around to people around where you live and talking about all of the easy to point to statistics and ugly things, you can easily find the one or two things that reach a common thread or pluck a common thread with the people around you. That's what I'm encouraging you to do. Don't use exactly what I use. Go find out what works with the people around you, and you keep plucking that thread. And eventually, other people are going to start plucking that thread. And then that voice of your people around you is going to start being heard.
Well, yes, but also another thing I would add as well, which I did recommend for people to do.
Will, do you get what I'm saying? Am I making sense?
Oh, no, you do make sense. And I think the important thing is that, and like I said earlier in the stream, is that you cannot rely on the desire to grill. You cannot rely on just being on with your online communities. You have to act. You have to work with the people around you. And if you don't do that, then all that we're doing is blowing hot air. We have to do things.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but also another thing I would say regarding building infrastructure, another thing I have said to people that they should do if they have the means to do so is to create a massive archive network of articles, tweets, social media posts, etc., of the enemy, and just keep them in the box. And then when people say, and then when you challenge people, say, "Oh, he doesn't do this," you could just go, "Right, well, he did here, did here, did here, did here, did here."
I got a meme for this. Give me a second. I'll get it up. Give me a second.
Yeah, and I talked about this, I think, in my video about hypocrisy, is that while it may not be the world's greatest political strategy of like calling it out, it is important that you keep a record of it, because it allows us to have a correct factual history of what's gone on, and it allows you to show everyone what you're dealing with. And what you're dealing with, plain English and speaking, is just we're dealing with evil. It's malice.
It is. We are up against
totally.
evil. And that's why with Christians, it's an easy sell, because all I have to do is talk about the satanic pedophiles that control everybody with debt and usury. And they know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about, and they get it.
Oh yeah. But that's the point though. Is that this is why archiving is very good because if someone doesn't archive something, it's very hard to recover something that hasn't been archived, such as lost tweets, articles, videos, etc. This is why having an well, I can't even speak today. Just having a database for all of this, so people can go directly to, and if they need to, just search and see if they can find what they're looking for. And also on the point of hypocrisy, I mean, V did a good video on this. Pointing out hypocrisy is one thing. Getting people to acknowledge it and turn against the people is something else. Because quite frankly, most people honestly do not care about hypocrisy. Because ultimately they don't have standards.
Right. Like using hypocrisy and showing them how the media lies, that's just a way to get them to trust you. Like that's the only way that I ever use that. The way that I talk to people around me in my mountain holler at church or at the store or wherever it is I bump into people, whenever I talk to folks around here, we talk about how the election was stolen. We talk about how I'm just kidding, Susan, if you're listening. I mean, I would never disagree with what CNN says. So this is only satire, of course. So with that being said, for the algorithm here, whenever we talk about the election being rigged and stolen, we talk about how all the lockdown stuff is finally starting to hurt our economy here locally. We talk about how masks are bullshit and the people behind it just want to destroy small businesses. We rally around easy to point to obvious things. And I know that everybody, everywhere in our countries, you can find those things that will resonate with the people around you. You just got to find what cord to pluck and do it.
Well, I mean, regarding the media, especially in the United States, prime example, weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Yeah,
that was a complete lie. I mean, how can anyone trust the media after that massive example? Then, quite frankly, and this is where the slightly nasty element of this type of action comes in, is that some people, they're just beyond help, and you have to quote unquote dump them into the abyss and leave them to rot. As nasty as that sounds, because as the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink it.
Yeah.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't name the Jew. I understand.
Jesus Christ, Yizz.
Yizz. Remember, Yizz, the tribe. You have to say the tribe or the Skywalkers, okay?
No, I just said it once. The channel's not in danger. I'm just making you laugh.
Schrodinger's minority.
Just keeping it loose here, making everybody laugh. We're having a good time.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, that's the thing though, is like, if you ever tried any of those talking points, like you were saying, the satanic pedophile, everyone just laughs and goes, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist."
No,
and
I don't say that phrase.
They don't listen to a word from you anymore.
I don't say that phrase. That's a funny Alex Jones phrase. What I mean is, when I talk to people around here, all I have to do is say, "Isn't it satanic the way that they're treating us?" And people are like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "It's just evil. It is just completely godless what's being done to us, ain't it?" And they're like, "Hell yeah, man!" Like you got to find out how to talk to people and how to reach them around you, and find a common emotional baseline thread that you can start plucking. And when you find out what works, you keep doing it. And then when you got friends and they're willing to listen to you, you can start saying, "Hey, you know what? I bet if we go down to so-and-so's house because he's got A, B, and C or whatever sway with the local authorities, let's go let that asshole know what we think. Let's get rid of this anti-white art exhibit. Let's get rid of this anti-white professor over here. Let's go make sure that these immigrants that moved to town, if we got a bunch of Packies here causing trouble, let's go make sure that they know they're not fucking welcome here. Hell yeah, brother. Let's go do it." And that's how shit gets done.
I think you've vastly overestimate how many people would be like that. That's the thing.
Well, I'm going to tell you another American phrase here, Zen, is "can't, never, could."
I think the important thing maybe to break it down is that you have to know your audience.
Yeah, you have to know your audience.
And I mean,
speaking for the northeast of England, I feel like the audience is, "What? Who's going to give us me money then?" And that's it. It's like, who's paying me my fucking benefits at the end of the day? That's all they care about.
Oh, jeez. And you know what? That makes me want to rewatch, shameless plug here, but it makes me want to rewatch Liverpool 1985 from Ashes of Civilization from Academic Agent.
That was a depressing video.
Yeah, and
That's a
I've
black
seen that
pill.
one.
and
Uh,
honest, I mean that just boils. I mean, honestly, I mean, as much as I want, like that just really boils my. Actually, a lot of the Ashes of Civilization really makes my figuratively, of course, makes my blood boil with just the sheer amount of, like, I would say outright treason we've seen, whether it's in, you know, what happened to the North regarding Thatcherism, or Detroit in after '67, all those stuffs, and you just see, and it's utterly harrowing.
Oh,
Uh,
it'll make your blood boil.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's like I speak to people about Detroit, and and somebody said to me, "How come you got such a love for Detroit?" And I said to him, "Consider this: Detroit in the mid '60s was a massive hub for automotive manufacturing, a huge hub for culture and music and television, booming economy, very low unemployment, good schools, among other things, and there was very little crime." Then comes '67 with the riots as well as other political stuff,
Yeah.
and the entire place is destroyed.
Chicago is the prime example of illustrating what white flight is and what it does.
Oh yes, but like especially with Detroit because of the manufacturing hub, thanks to post 1970s with the neocons and neoliberals. Now I don't care what I mean. Personally, I use the terms interchangeably because they're ultimately the same person. The difference is one pretends to be a liberal and the other pretends to be a conservative.
Yeah, it's globalism's greatest trick is making you think that there's a difference between those two groups.
Oh no. Like I personally, I know this is gonna come
Like
off
I said,
very
the
simple.
devil's greatest trick is convincing you that
He doesn't exist.
well, I was going to say he's not part of the tribe.
Yeah, very true. Yes, but my point is that, like, so many of these groups, I don't consider them different. I all consider them the same. It's just a different skin.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't, and a skin in the sense of, oh, guess what? You're playing oh, what's that? You're playing as Link with your classic green tunic. Oh, but this is Link with a red tunic. They're completely different. And stuff like that. It's like, no, you're still the same thing. You may pretend to be different, but you're ultimately the same thing when you boil it down. And it reminds me of a quote about stupidity and evil. They're the same thing when you compare the results.
Yeah. Well, let's get my meme off the screen here, and
Yes, but
all
yes, I mean,
let's
yes.
it's the 30-minute mark, so let's go check and see what we have. See if anybody's got stuff to say over on Intropo. We have Zuldor over here in the entropy chat saying that people react to what personally affects them. I was the one making archive VN Go Burr on Don's Discord during the rigging. Oh yeah, that was you. Yeah, Zuldor was in Don's Discord archiving the shit out of all of the quote unquote proof that the election was rigged. And of course, if the wiki machine hears me, this is only satire, of course, and I would never disagree with MSNBC. So we also have a generous donation of $20 on PayPal from Batch D. Thank you very much, my friend. That helps a lot. That would put a tank of gas in my small car for the next month. I do appreciate that. 14 in the chat for Batch D and his generous donation. Thank you very much. His only comment with that was Happy Friday. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much. And
Yeah.
I noticed Batch D shares a 4-leaf clover a lot. I don't know if that means he's Irish or whatever, but whatever your Euro ethnic persuasion, I appreciate it all the same, my friend. And that's it. That's all we've got going on right now.
Because what Jack's referring to is the Starship Troopers model.
Right. I was thinking,
by
was it
Heinlein.
Starship Troopers? But like, I wasn't sure. That's why I wanted to ask quick.
Mhm.
But to his question, Jack, I mean, it's been years since I watched Starship Troopers, and to be fair, I know now, thanks to reviews, that it's quite it's a poor take on the idea itself.
Read the novel.
Yeah, the novel
yeah,
is so worth reading.
Yeah, but by the sounds of it, from what I heard people talk about it, in a way, it sounds quite similar to what I'm currently in the middle of working right now. And to be fair, I've been slow because I'm terrible when it comes to writing pieces. But it is, some of it does correlate well with what I call the Mirror Veritas, which I am currently working at the moment, and I will be doing some pieces with Yizz across many YouTubers. Actually, I think we might have to do Yizz. Could we do potentially a massive special on that with many guests?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
what do you want to focus on?
Well, regarding when I finish up the Mirror Veritas, it's not going to be for a while because because problem with me is when I'm writing is I write through it and then I'm constantly like critiquing myself as I'm going along, and quite often I'll write a piece, then I'll delete it, then rewrite it, then I'll delete it again, and rewrite it. Yeah,
like
because
I said, since things are looking like I'm going to have more time for the next few months, we can definitely do a singular episode of A Colonist and a Brit Get Along if you want to focus on just an hour or two of whenever you get your Veritas theorem finished. We can do an episode on that.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's mainly I'm just trying to get like a draft together, and I've already spoken with. I know Bill's interested in doing a piece on it. Don, I do know, was interested on it. Scrump was interested, and maybe everyone's favorite English liberal might be interested in it as well, since I have been slyly through super chats dumping the propaganda. And I do think because I'm completely open to anyone when it does finish to any criticisms or feedback to it at all, because like I said, I'm terrible when it comes to writing because, like I said, I'm an engineer by trade. I don't do writing. I do hands-on physical work.
I agree with Silence's Leaden in the chat. Every writer is his or her own critic, worst critic.
Yeah.
I completely agree there, considering I'm a writer as well.
Well, yes, but like I said, I'm like I said, the last time I did a silly amount of writing was in college, where I had to do 100,000 word essay, and I did it in 2 weeks, and that was pure torture.
That ain't me. I'm not that kind of writer. I can barely read.
Oh no, but like but yeah, so like because effectively what I'm trying to do with the piece is trying to build. I don't want to say theoretically a new use the loaded term New World Order, but almost like let's say a forged somewhat philosophical / political idea, which is something, to my knowledge, for the most part, many philosophers regarding my research haven't really struck a chord with over the years.
It's not that I don't appreciate what you create. It's just I try to get away from philosophical waffling because I did that for years and it got me nowhere. So
I like myself, like for me, yeah, sure thing, Bill. I will when I get a somewhat respectable draft up. But yeah, like I said, I'm not necessarily one with philosophy. Like I said, I'm an engineer, so I only care about what's practical and what functions. So I'm effectively trying to. Very nice one, Bill. But effectively, I'm just trying to basically take an engineer's mentality to let's say a philosophy, and trying to cut out or iron out any potential inherent flaws which can easily bring about.
Excuse me.
But yeah, sorry. So does our guest have anything to say?
Yeah, I was going to segue away from that because I about fell asleep. Sorry.
Yeah, same. I'm zoning out.
I'm sorry.
I've been zoning out all stream, to be honest. I've not been having a good day.
Well, that's fine. We have passed the 90-minute mark, and so usually after the 90-minute mark, we start winding down and talking to the guest about what's important to him or her. So, Will, since you're here today, is there something specific that you would like to plan with me in the future? Because we know you've already talked about what's coming up, and you've shared with about your channel, and we had a look at it. Is there something in particular that you'd like to do with me, or that you would like me to work on or plan on doing with you in the future?
Well, I would love to come on again. I've had a really great time. And I know that you had mentioned prior to coming on air that you wanted to start moving on planning another weekly stream or having something more with other guests for a variety of topics, sort of like Unpopular Opinions.
Yeah, I'd love that.
My schedule is pretty flexible. I would have no problem being a guest of yours.
Sure. Well, my co-host definitely seemed to like you, and the chat seems to like you. So yeah, we'll definitely plan on having you included in that when things go forward here. And
I would certainly love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any collabs or projects planned with other content creators you'd like to talk about?
Well, at the current moment, not at the moment. I know that on March 1st we'll be doing our second book club meeting. We'll be going over Samuel P. Huntington's Clash of Civilizations. If you have not read that book, it is incredibly. It's really good. It talks about how we need to view the world as more of a civilizational conflict rather than nation states. And if the United States and other Western countries want to preserve themselves in the wake of population changes, demographic changes, you have to preserve the civilizations of those nations. And that is fundamentally important to me.
And a big part of preserving a civilization, and I use the word ethnicity a lot because to me, an ethnicity is what can colloquially be called a people. Because an ethnicity is what happens when a single people live in an area for a long time and build traditions, religions, norms, and usually government, and that creates an ethnicity. For example, Asian is not an ethnicity to me. Asian is a race. Like someone in Cambodia and someone who lives in Japan and a Han Chinese are very different people, even though they have the same race nugget in their build. Like an ethnicity is what is trying to be stomped out and erased by Globo Homo. They don't want us to have connections to history and culture and even our own language. Like that's why I don't like one of the things I don't like about the Anglosphere encroachment through the UN on the rest of the world is the enforcement of the English language, is because when you start removing someone's language from being important, a lot of their idiom and stories and oral history start disappearing along with that. So in the West, I think it's important to focus on folklore, cultural norms, and I encourage people, if you want to preserve that stuff, avoid getting put on government lists by making an organization that's called, like, for example, here where I live in Appalachia, I could create something called the Appalachian Civic Center, or not Civic, the Appalachian History Center, or Colloquial Appalachian Folklore, or something like that, and you naturally attract people who are concerned about preserving your local culture and history and stuff, and you dodge a lot of the drama and bullshit and buzzwords that the media and the government will pin on you for doing that. So I encourage people that listen to me wherever you are, if you're going to start building community groups, intelligently phrase what your group is and intelligently phrase its charter around positive things about folklore and culture and traditions and stuff, because that's a much safer way for us to participate in the open with this kind of shit.
Absolutely. Preserving oral history, folklore, songs is so important. It's what ties you to your ancestors and ties you back to your people, to your land. And like I mentioned earlier, it's those inherited rights. Like if you don't have a connection to this history, these stories, these legends, these people, these heroes, then what good are you to do? You're aimless.
Yeah, exactly. And they want us to be deracinated. They want us to be jerked up by the roots and just cast to the wind, because, you know, the powers that be, no matter what you want to call them, the globalist elite, the anti-white agenda, whatever you want to call it, they want us to lose our ethnicity. They want us to all be interchangeable integers in their globalist equation for wealth. That's what they want us all to be, and we have to resist that by emboldening our cultural ties and creating strong, rooted communities.
Exactly. Like they want you atomized. They want you online. They want you feeling like you're alone and that you have nobody. This is why on the ground, in-person organization, history clubs, book clubs, having even the pamphlets out like with what you do and interviewing people is so important to let people know that they're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's a good place to end things on. Kizza and Zen, let's talk about what you guys want to advertise or what projects you guys got going on this week. Anything you want to share or talk about, Kizza?
No, go ahead, sorry.
I'll let Zen go. I'll go ahead.
Okay, sure.
As you may have, as anyone who's in the server may know, I have been whining and bitching because I'm finally actually having to do video editing because I'm putting together my first book review. So in the chat right now is what will soon be my normie channel, where I'll put just me yammering about books or TV shows or potentially anime. That may be haram to some people here, but I've got a few things. I've got a lot of stuff planned. The problem is I've got to muscle my way through video editing, which is exhausting. But hopefully in the next week I'll have a book review out. That'll be nice.
Nice.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I like talking about books. I just hate editing the video.
Another thing.
And yeah, definitely. If you like what he's got to say and share. Oh, Slots hit me up on Cash App. He said we'll check that before we get out of here. If you like what Zen has to say and you like the dulcet tones of his voice, definitely follow him. He also has an active Twitch. I'm assuming you're still doing that every day, right?
Yes, every evening, except Sunday, Monday, and every other Saturday.
All right. Well,
So
then,
I'm playing Darkest Dungeon tonight.
Just if there's anything you got going, you want to share before we get out of here, go ahead, and I'm going to check the usual and do the roundup before we get out of here.
Honestly, myself, obviously I'm working on the Mirror Veritas draft, but I will be joining Bill All Minus One in Tank on the channel. The Ends Justify the Memes. Not next Saturday, but the Saturday after the 6th of March. So add that to your calendar, because the Ends justify the memes.
That they do. Thank you for being here today, Bill. It was nice to see you in the chat. Thank you to everybody who came by. And the only thing we had new come in on any of the chat programs is our good white positive friend Slots dropped me a $5, dropped me a Lady Godiva, as Dangerfield says, in the old Cash App. I didn't see a message with it, but thank you, and I sent a heart in response. And I do love having these streams. I think it's very important that we get together, we talk about what's good. Our people are still strong. There are plenty of us that are healthy and care about the future for our white children. And there are many of us that want to have healthy, stable countries. So keep that positivity going forward. Let it spread through you to others. Build better communities. And remember to never, ever give up, because that's what our enemies want. Stay positive. Let the fire of Prometheus reside in your breast and let others feel that warmth and hope from you. And that's what we should all focus on. So with that being said, thank you, Prudentialist, for being here. We'll definitely have you on again one day, and you'll be part of upcoming projects. And we will see you all here next Friday with American Zarathustra. And excuse me. And I believe that that is all of the live streams I have planned as of yet. But I do have a few people I'm in PMs with for future streams. So thank you again for coming, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for having me on.
Good night, everybody.
Ew.
All right. For those of you over on DLive, we are popping the chest now. And as soon as that's done, we're going to kill the stream. So I'm going to say my goodbyes in the chat while we're still live here for a few seconds.
Oh, dear.
There we go. All righty. Okay. And we are no longer live, so we can talk about whatever you like now.
Oh, I've just seen Paul